Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel IELTS with Ralph. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how to write a Band 9 IELTS Academic Task report for a set of pie charts. We're going to go step by step, and I'll explain not just what to write, but also why we use certain vocabulary and also fractions, and how to compare data in a pie chart. So let's take a look at our pie chart here, and let's read the question. The charts below show the percentage of water used for different purposes in 6 areas of the world. As you can see, there are 6 areas: North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia. And it shows the use of water in 3 different, categories: industrial, agricultural, and domestic. 3 different purposes, let's say. And we are going to write a Band 9 report. Now, what is important here is how to categorize data. And as you know, our report consists of 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph, as you know, is introduction, then overview, then body paragraph 1 and second body paragraph. So for the 2 body paragraphs, we are going to categorize data based on North America, South America, and Europe in our first body paragraph, and Africa, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia will be in our second body paragraph. So let's just start by writing our introduction. As you know, guys, in writing our introduction, we simply paraphrase the question, right? So the question starts with this phrase, the charts below show. So instead of show, we can write compare. The charts compare. The percentage of water, instead of the percentage of water, we can write how much water is used. Now, here in the question, it's written for different purposes, but in our introduction, we can write the name of these purposes, right? So, how much water is used for industrial, agricultural, and domestic purposes. In the question, there is 6 areas. So we can change areas into regions in 6 different regions of the world. That's it. That's our introduction paragraph. Very simple. We simply paraphrase the question, and we change the word, or sometimes we change the word order and we use synonyms. All right, now let's move on to our next paragraph, which is overview paragraph. So you all know that in overview paragraph, we write about the most specific feature of this chart. Now let's take a look at these charts here, these pie charts. What stands out to you the most in seeing this chart? Very good. The orange color, which is agricultural, is the highest in almost all countries except for North America and Europe. So this is the most specific feature of this chart. So we can write this in our overview paragraph. And most of the times we start with overall. Overall, all the regions, with the exception of North America and Europe, use a significantly large volume of their total water for agricultural purposes. This is the best overview paragraph that you can write. So we only write about the most specific feature of the chart without providing any data, right? No percentages is allowed in writing your overview paragraph. So be very careful, right? So you just write about the most specific feature. Very good. Now let's turn to our, move on to our next paragraph, our first body paragraph. So we are going to write about North America, South America, and Europe. So let's take a look at North America and Europe. Okay, so as you can see, in North America and Europe, almost half of the total water is used for industrial purposes, right? And similar quantities as you can see, 13% for North America and 15% for Europe is used for domestic purposes, right? And also, Europe uses 1/3, as you can see, 1/3 of its total water is used for farming, for, let's say, agricultural purpose, right? 1/3. Here, we are going to use fractions and comparisons a lot because we are going to talk about the differences, all right? So be very careful of using fractions here. I will teach you how to use the fractions here in this paragraph and also in writing a report for these types of charts. So let's start writing. All right, so let's start writing sentence by sentence. We will talk about a report for these three charts. North America and Europe each use almost half. Be very careful of using almost because it's not completely half. Almost half. This is fraction. Almost half of their total water for industrial purposes. So I don't write the percentage here, for example, 48% or 53%, right? Almost half of their total water for industrial purposes. While similar, this is comparison, similar quantities of water. So what I do here is I write the percentages in the parentheses, all right? 13 to and 15% are used for household purposes, all right? So when I write 13, it means that it refers to North America because first, in the beginning of this paragraph, I started with North America, all right? 13 and 15% are used for household purposes. So household, by household, I mean domestic, all right? So that's okay if you change the name of those purposes and you use synonyms for that. That's okay, no problem. Then let's take a look at Europe. Europe, almost 1/3, right? 1/3 of its use is for agricultural or farming. So Europe uses almost, again, almost 1/3. 1/3 is another fraction that I use here in this paragraph. 1/3 of its total water supply for farming, while North America uses a slightly higher, so you see how I use comparisons here, slightly higher quantity at 39%. It's 39, right? Now let's write about South America. South America, on the other hand, because I'm going to give something quite different from the previous sentence. So I use, on the other hand, uses a comparatively large, this is another phrase for comparison, comparatively large volume, and I write the percentage in parentheses, 71% of water for agricultural use, while it utilize, good word here, good verb, the lowest quantity, what's that? 10%. Then again, I use it in parentheses here for industrial purposes. At a moderate amount, almost 1/5. This is another fraction that I'm using here for domestic purposes. For domestic purposes. As you can see, it's 19%. So it's not completely 1/5. It's almost 1/5. All right, so beware of using fractions here. So as you can see, I've used different comparisons and fractions here. For example, almost half, 1/3, almost 1/5. These are fractions. And also different comparisons I've used here are similar, slightly higher, comparatively large, lowest quantity. All right, these are comparisons. Now, let's move on to our next paragraph, which is about Africa, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia. So let's take a look at these countries. As you can see, for all these countries, the use of water for agricultural or farming purpose is more than 80%, right? For all of them, it's more than 80%. And the highest is for Central Asia, which is 88%. So I'm going to write about this. I'm going to write about the highest percentage. So remember, every time that you are provided with data like this, you have to write the highest percentage. It's very important. And let's talk about household purposes, which is domestic. As you can see, for domestic purposes, it's 7% for Southeast Asia and Central Asia, and it's 9% for Africa. So what I'm going to do to write is that Central and Southeast Asia have exactly the same, right, at 7%. And there's also a moderate disparity in the quantities of water used for industrial purposes, right? As you can see, 7%, 5%, and 12%. So I'm going to write about this also. So let's start writing our second body paragraph. Africa, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia, because I'm going to write about all three, because I'm going to talk about the, let's say, agricultural purpose, which is the highest in these three countries. Again, Africa, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia use more than 80% of their total water supply for farming. And if I'm going to write about the highest, so I use comma, and after that I write with Central Asia using the highest percentage at 88%. The other two are not necessary to write about their percentages, or write only the highest, which is Central Asia. The quantities of water, now I'm going to talk about household purposes, all right? The quantities of water used for household purposes in Central and Southeast Asia are exactly the same. They're exactly the same. So you see how I use, again, comparison here at 7%. At 7%, while there is a moderate disparity in the quantities of water used for industrial purposes. So this moderate disparity is, again, comparison. And by writing this, I say that when I say moderate disparity, it means that there is noticeable, let's say, difference, but not extreme difference between the percentages in these charts, right? So if in analyzing your chart, you come across a chart or 3 or 4 charts that the percentages are kind of the same, but maybe there is 2 or 3 percentages difference. So you can use this phrase, moderate disparity in the quantities of water used for industrial purposes. Now, let's write about Africa. African numbers show a striking similarity, again, comparison I'm using here, to Asian numbers. You can see Africa and Asia, right? As the majority of their water is used for agricultural purposes. So this is, again, what is a striking feature here. However, domestic water usage is slightly higher. Domestic water usage is slightly higher by 2% than that of their Asian counterparts. I'm talking about Africa. So the last sentence refers to the striking similarities for African numbers and Asian, but the only difference here is for, let's say, domestic purpose, which is 2% higher than the other two countries. So that's it. That's our Band 9 report for writing this pie chart, and I've analyzed all the important features here. And what I've done here is that I categorized the 3 countries and 3 countries. So North America, South America, and Europe in our first body paragraph, and Africa, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia in the second body paragraph. And I've also used comparisons and fractions clearly in this report, and I think this report can definitely get Band 9 score here. All right, that's it for today, and I hope you've enjoyed this part and has been really helpful to you. If you notice, I didn't just list the numbers, I organized them into meaningful comparisons, and I used a wide range of academic vocabulary. So if you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more IELTS writing lessons. Until next time, enjoy your time, stay tuned, and goodbye.